You're listening to Keith Sports News. Hey guys, welcome to Keith Sports News, KSN episode 46. So yeah, we are at the month of June. Yep, we are here. Another month of the sports calendar year. Summer season pretty much has begun. All right. So this is the last episode was kind of like a scoreboard episode. This will also be another scoreboard episode, but I have some other news to talk about as well. So, first of all, were y'all surprised by me doing that live stream? Yes. For those of you that don't know, I actually did a live stream on this channel for the first time. Yep. It was a live stream of me watching a sporting event. And that sporting event is it's a soccer match or a football match. Well, people in USA and Canada, we call it soccer, but all the other countries, pretty much, they call it football. It was the UEFA Champions League Final between Paris Saint-Germain and Inter Milan, or Milan. So, yeah, I did a live stream reaction to that, a watch along. The reason why I did that is because a subscriber by the name of D Rose, if you're listening to this, D Rose, he wanted me to do a live stream of me watching that football match, because D Rose is a huge football fan, soccer fan, okay? That's his favorite sport. I'm not a soccer fan in general. I would mainly watch the Olympics and the World Cup. Last year, we had the Olympics. Next year is the World Cup, okay? So about every 2 years or so. Yeah. But I didn't know about this until D Rose wanted me to check this game out. And I did. And yeah, y'all were surprised that I did that live stream reaction. Why wasn't that on Eric Super Magnificent, the main channel? Because that channel already had plans for that Saturday. Yeah, it was on a Saturday, that live stream that I did. So, and another reason why I wanted to do it on this channel is because I wanted to see if anyone would tune in to my live stream on this channel. And some did. 3 or 4 people tuned in. Wow. What a surprise. So maybe I can do some more of these watch-alongs throughout the year. Maybe I should just do it on this channel, because the main channel is mainly gaming and vlogging, right? So the game itself, I watched it, and I was chatting with D Rose and, of course, 5Tayer, the MVP on this channel, and we were all watching it together, so that was cool. Without them, it wouldn't be as fun and entertaining, you know. The game was on CBS or Paramount Plus. I watched it live because, it was a live stream reaction. And I really haven't watched a football match a soccer match since the Olympics of last year. So, yeah, it was a while back. I wanted Paris Saint-Germain to win for two reasons. Number one, I used to take French classes every year for like 10 years straight back when I was in school. And number two, my former French teacher is a soccer football fan. So I messaged him telling him, hey, look what I'm watching. And he was happy. And he said, PSG is going to win, and that made me laugh. And my gosh, that game was a one-sided shutout. PSG was the better team. And let me say, the crowd was huge. They were hyped. You know, a lot of soccer crowds are like that anyways. And everything just went PSG's way. Yeah. They scored 5 goals. 5 goals to 0. Nil. Zilch. Yeah. 0. That in the final, the championship, that's crazy. So I was entertained from start to finish. The great thing about watching a soccer match is that there are no commercials. No commercials during the game itself. So they have, in my opinion, their rules are kind of weird. Like, I know I never got a chance, I never got to address this because, you know, I've never talked about soccer. But why does the clock tick up? Why doesn't the clock tick down like it does in other sports? And why doesn't the clock stop whenever there's a foul, a penalty? I asked D. Rose that question, and he just says, those are the rules. It always has been the rules. The same rules for all football soccer leagues. And I get it, but it's also weird, you know? Why do the officials, the referees, dress up like the players? But hey, no commercials. That's the best part about watching a soccer match. So I do know the rules. Well, the main rules in terms of the time. They played 90 minutes, 2 halves, 45 minutes each. Then after that, they'll have that additional time to make up for, you know, from the penalties and the fouls that occurred. Halftime happens, commercials. Yeah. So, but again, I was entertained from start to finish. And yeah, it was a one-sided shutout for PSG. It was crazy. So, I'm glad they won. Congratulations to PSG. What a performance. And yeah, thanks to you, D. Rose. I was entertained. I was more entertained because you were there watching the stream. Without you, I probably wouldn't be as entertained, you know? Because we were also chatting, talking, while watching the game. Alright? So, I might do more of these watch-along streams throughout the year. I don't want to do too many. I might do one once in a while. However, I would like to do one soon because for the UFL, the United Football League, American football, okay, the championship game on June 14. I would like to watch that live and do a live stream reaction. I might, this weekend is the semifinals. I might somehow do a live stream reaction to those games as well, maybe. It's possible. If not, then definitely for sure the United Football League championship game on Saturday night, June 14. okay? Because I am a fan of the UFL, even though you hear me criticize their schedule throughout the regular season. So, yeah, we shall see. And speaking of the UFL, we might as well start with the final week of the regular season of the UFL. It was week 10. I only watched one game because there was only one game that was interesting, and that was the first game on Friday night between the St. Louis Battlehawks and the DC Defenders at DC. I recorded it on YouTube TV, so I watched it. I believe I watched it late Friday night, and they had a rain delay. Yeah, they had a rain delay, and the delay was about a half an hour, maybe a little longer. So, I've never seen a rain delay in the UFL. That was my first time seeing that. Maybe this was the first UFL game in history that went into a delay. So, and it was early in the first quarter, and it was after the Battlehawks score a touchdown, and it was just pouring down rain. There was some lightning, so they had to suspend the game for a while. And luckily, the TV broadcast kept me entertained. I actually sat through the entire rain delay coverage. Yeah. And it was just, the two announcers along with the sideline reporter. There's no studio show, there's no pregame show, there's no postgame show. It's just the UFL football game itself, So I give them credit, the Fox broadcast credit to keep me entertained, even though I could have just fast forward through the rain delay. But I fast forward through the commercials because that's what I do, and eventually the game resumed, and not much offense after that. The field was soaking wet, huge puddles. Man, it was messy, it was sloppy, it was hard to move the ball, it was hard to throw the ball, run the ball. It was slippery. It was a complete wet game. Shout out to the DC fans for staying there. They stayed there. That's crazy. I wouldn't want to be out there in the rain. I once went to a football game out in the rain. It was the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Northwest Louisiana in 2021. I wanted to go, but unfortunately it was raining, so we didn't stay too long. We left at halftime. Who knows, I might go to this year's. Anyways, not much offense. And the game, after the rain delay, the game kind of flew by fast, because they always, for those of you that watch the games, the clock keeps running. Even on incompletions, incomplete passes, the clock keeps running until the 2-minute warning. After the 2-minute warning, the clock will stop on first downs. And I like that. The CFL does that. College football does that. So why can't the NFL do that? I don't like that. I don't like that the NFL doesn't do that. But anyways, the Battlehawks won by a score of 13-8. The two best teams in the XFL conference. And guess what? These two teams will face each other again this weekend in the XFL Conference Championship game. The only difference is that it's in St. Louis. And it's a dome. No need to worry about the weather. All right. Saturday, the Houston Roughnecks took on the Michigan Panthers at Michigan. I actually watched the last 5 minutes of that game live because it was after the the soccer match that I watched. I wasn't even going to watch this game anyways because the season's over for the Houston Roughnecks. The playoffs are already set. You know, towards the end of the regular season, it's all about the playoffs. So, somehow, the Houston Roughnecks won by a score of 19-12. And then Sunday, the doubleheader, the first game was the Arlington Renegades at the San Antonio Brahmas. I didn't watch that game or the highlights. The Renegades won by a score of 23-6. I don't even know what the heck happened to the Brahmas. The Brahmas, I believe, only have one win, and that win was at the DC Defenders. That's weird. And later that day, oh my gosh, the Birmingham Stallions crushed the Memphis Showboats in Memphis by a score of 46-9. Oh my gosh. Is that the most points a UFL team scored? It might be. So, let's check the standings, the final standings of the regular season in the UFL. The USFL Conference, Birmingham 7-3, Michigan 6-4, Houston 5-5, and Memphis 2-8. In the XFL Conference, St. Louis 8-2, DC 6-4, Arlington 5-5, and San Antonio 1-9. The Brahmas lost 6 games in a row. The Battlehawks won 6 games in a row. And the Battlehawks do have the most wins, 8 wins. So, the semifinals are set. And they're both going to be on Sunday. That's kind of weird. Both the semifinal games are on Sunday, but the championship game's on a Saturday. Isn't that weird? I guess they don't want to do one game Friday night and then the other game Saturday night. I don't know. But both games are on Sunday. This is like the NFL Conference Championship game where both games are on Sunday. The first game is at 2 p.m. Central on ABC, the USFL Conference Championship between the Michigan Panthers at the Birmingham Stallions. Okay, and then later that day, the DC Defenders at the St. Louis Battlehawks at 5 p.m. on Fox. They're both big games. They are both big games. I will watch both games. And I will give you my predictions on Friday's episode. Okay? So yeah, UFL season is coming to an end. The season's always short. But on the bright side, the CFL season is coming up soon. When is their season start? I know they had preseason, but I don't watch preseason for any sports league. Let's see. Wow, their regular season begins on Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Central. It's a good thing I checked. Wow, well, I might actually tune into that live. The CFL season starts on Thursday night. Canadian football is back. And this might sound weird, but the CFL is my number one favorite sports league. It really is. I love watching it. And I'm so lucky to have the Canadian sports channels, TSN. That's how I became a fan of the CFL, because I have access to their the TSN channels. All their games are on that network. Yeah, because none of the games are on at the same time, so you can watch every game. Same with the UFL, you know. So, oh man, this is gonna be great. More football for me. Yep. And that's good. And I guess I guess that's a good thing. Now that I'm looking at the schedule, there's a Thursday night game, a Friday night game, a doubleheader Saturday night games. no games on Sunday. Well, damn, the UFL Conference Championship games are on Sunday, so that's great. They're not on at the same time, but I'm sure there is going to be a CFL game on at the same time as the UFL Championship game, and the answer is yes, but it's only one game, so that's okay. Oh, but on the bright side, TSN, they sometimes would show the replays of their games late at night. Yeah. And it's only the beginning of the CFL season anyways. So yeah, well, that's a good thing. After UFL season ends, I'm just going to be locked in on the CFL for the rest of the summer and into the fall season. Oh yeah. All right. So, let's see here. Okay, so that's that. All right. Now to the big thing. Big thing that happened over this weekend is the NBA. The NBA Finals is set. Saturday was Game 6 of the East Finals between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. I watched a little bit of that game live, and it was a close game in the first half. Second half, the Pacers took over, and they won by a score of 125 to 108. NBA Finals are set, which means the NBA on TNT is officially over. That's sad. After, man, a long time, right? I like the... Listen, I'm not a big NBA fan. I'm not an NBA fan in general, but I do like the guys on the NBA on TNT. Especially the... I heard... what's the announcer's name? Kevin Harlan. A well-known voice. A well-known play-by-play announcer. He's great. The studio show, I like the guys on there, they're great. I think we can all agree most people like the NBA on TNT more than ESPN. Nothing against the ESPN people. It just is what it is, And I don't think TNT has ever broadcasted an NBA Finals. That's a shame. I'm sure everyone would love to see TNT broadcast an NBA championship game before they say goodbye for good. I would. We would all love to hear Kevin Harlan call an NBA Finals. I remember a couple years ago, the main announcer was Marv Albert. He is the father of Kenny Albert, the NHL on TNT voice. Yeah. So, it's the end of an era. Next season, the NBA is coming back to NBC. So that'll be interesting. I know. It's weird. It is weird. So, the NBA Finals are set. Game 1 begins on Thursday night. The Indiana Pacers at the Oklahoma City Thunder. I still think the Thunder's going to win the NBA Finals. And I'll give you my prediction. I think the Thunder's going to win in 6 games. I think they're going to win in 6 games. Okay. So that's going to be on ABC. The Stanley Cup final, that's been set for a while because both conference finals were kind of a one-sided. They both ended in 5 games. That begins on Wednesday night. A rematch from last year's Stanley Cup Final. The Florida Panthers at the Edmonton Oilers. Last year, the Panthers had home ice advantage. This year, it's the Oilers that have home ice advantage. And I'm gonna cheer for Edmonton. I'm gonna cheer for the Oilers because last year they came up short, and I always like to see a different team win the championship. But I'm sure this will be a great final. This final is more exciting than the NBA Finals, in my opinion. Actually, it usually is for me, because I like the NHL more than the NBA anyways. I wonder if more people... I heard that someone said, or I think some people say on some podcasts that I listen to, they said if the NBA Finals is Thunder versus Pacers, which it is, then they may not get as much ratings as last year's. If the New York Knicks if they were to be in the NBA Finals, oh yeah, they would get more ratings because it's New York, you know? Somehow, the Stanley Cup Finals, or Final, Stanley Cup Final with no S, but you have NBA Finals with a S. How did I learned that from Adam Shine, his podcast. I think somehow the Stanley Cup Final might get more ratings than the NBA Finals. We shall see. So this year it's going to be on TNT. See, the NHL, they alternate the Stanley Cup Final between ESPN and TNT. Why can't the NBA do the same? Or why couldn't the NBA do the same? I think everyone would be great with that. Oh, okay, it's TNT's turn to broadcast. Oh, next year it's ESPN's turn. I wish it was like that. I wish it was like that, but oh well. It's when the money's right, it's all about the money. Sports leagues are business. You know, it's all for business. So I'll try to watch some of the games if I get a chance. So the Stanley Cup Final is first. All right. So yeah, obviously you're not going to have a Stanley Cup Final and an NBA Final on at the same time. That's never happened before. So almost every night you're going to have a Stanley Cup Final game and an NBA Final game. All right. So I'll give you my predictions on this, the Stanley Cup Final. This might also go 7 games. And I think it will. But somehow the Florida Panthers might win it again. And now that I said it, I'm going to pick the Panthers to win the Stanley Cup back-to-back years. I think it will go 7 games. But I want the Edmonton Oilers to win. Do it for Connor McDavid, the man who scored the game-winning goal in the Four Nations face-off final for Team Canada. I mean, what a moment that was. So yeah, Stanley Cup Final, it's on TNT, but I can also watch it on the Canadian sports channel called Sportsnet. There's an announcer on there, he's really good, named Chris Kuberth. He's also great, and of course Kenny Albert. I might do back and forth between both broadcasts. I'll do the Sportsnet coverage when Edmonton's the home team, which they are for games 1 and 2, and then when the series goes to South Florida, I'll watch the TNT coverage. because it's USA, Canada, which means the players, the coaches, the officials, and the announcers, and all the TV guys, they have to do that long ass plane flight. Yeah, from Edmonton all the way down to South Florida. Do you know how long that flight is? Man. Well, it's a good thing that they'll have, 2 nights off in between. Whenever they're traveling, they'll get 2 nights off. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's that. Now, to the French Open, because that's another big thing going on in sports, the French Open tennis. I did watch some of it, but I didn't watch any of it live. I got it recorded on YouTube TV. So, I watched some of the third round coverage. And I do like their coverage. Obviously, we can all agree their coverage is much better than NBC's coverage from last year. Although I've always liked the NBC coverage. But TNT is obviously much better because you can see more matches. You get to see more tennis. Alright. So, let's go through some of the scores here. Any interesting scores here? We'll do the men's side from Friday. Okay, third round, we had an All-American match between Frances Tiafoe and Sebastian Korda. Tiafoe won that in straight sets. Ben Shelton, another American youngster, he took care of business. Okay, let's see here. Oh, this match, I was kind of watching some of this match. Karen Khachanov against Tommy Paul. That went 5 sets. And Tommy won in 5 sets. 6-3, 3-6, 7-6, tiebreaker 9-7, 3-6, 6-3. Yeah, I know. It's so weird saying a 5-set score, but that's how you do it. Because I would hear the chair umpire say it, because that's what the chair umpire does. Whenever the match is over, he'll read the final official score. All right, so that was Friday's matches. Saturday's matches, Novak Djokovic took care of business. So he'll be moving on to the 4th round, the round of 16. Jack Draper also took care of business. He's the number 5 seed. And Alexander Zverev, Sasha Zverev from Germany, the number 3 seeded player, as well as the number 1 seeded player, Yannick Sinner. Wow. This score. 6-love, 6-1, 6-2. Jeez. And, he was suspended for 3 months for doing a banned substance or illegal drug. I forgot the name, but 3 months, man, and he's back and he's killing it. And then Sunday was the 4th round, the beginning of the round of 16. Lorenzo Musetti won against the Denmark player Rune. Wow, he'll be moving on to the quarterfinals. I remember him from last year's French Open and last year's Olympics. He won the bronze medal. Lorenzo Musetti won the bronze medal in the Paris Olympics from last year. Frances Tiafoe also took care of business. He's moving on to the quarterfinals. Up, a huge match. I didn't get to watch this one. Ben Shelton against Carlos Alcaraz. And Alcaraz won in 4 sets. 7-6, tiebreaker 10-8, 6-3, 4-6, 6-4. So Alcaraz is also moving on to the quarterfinals. Tommy Paul also took care of business as well. Okay, so I know I didn't really get to watch much during week 1, mainly because I just didn't have the time this year. But I think this week there's a better chance I can watch more of the French Open because there's less matches. Because obviously, week 2 is more important than week 1 anyways. So today, well, when I say today, I think some of these matches have already happened. An interesting matchup here. Cameron Norrie against Novak Djokovic. Okay. By the time you listen to this, you would know who won that match. Okay. Oh, the big match. Yannick Sinner against Andrei Rublev. I think Sinner's going to crush Rublev. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, we have a quarterfinals. 2 quarterfinal matches. Lorenzo Musetti, the Italian player, against the American player Francis Tiafoe. I think Musetti's going to win that match. And then the other one, American player Tommy Paul against Spanish player Carlos Alcaraz. I think Alcaraz is also going to win that match easily. But I always wish the American players well. Because, you know, I'm an American. I was born in America. I always wish the American players well. Women's singles now. From Friday, I watched some women's matches. Let's see. Alina Rybakina. Wow, she easily beat Yelena Ostapenko 6-2, 6-2. I remember when Ostapenko won the French Open 8 years ago in 2017. She was only and she just turned 20 years old. Now she's 28. She's about to be 28. Gosh. I could not believe she won that French Open. She beat Simona Halep. Yeah, Simona Halep just retired earlier this year, but back then Simona was in her prime, you know. And Ostapenko, she's been a great player ever since, but she hasn't been, you know, in a final Grand Slam ever since. There's some women's players like that. They'll make like one Grand Slam final appearance and that's it. Whether if she won it or not. Yeah. Oh, that happened to Jeannie Bouchard, the Canadian player. She once was in a Wimbledon final. Jeez. And people say she's like the sexiest player ever. Jeez. And I gotta say, she is pretty damn sexy looking. Okay. Let's see here. Jasmine Paolini took care of business. Iga Swiatek, she's doing better. That's great. Aryna Sabalenka, she took care of business. She might win the whole tournament. Here's the match that I watched. Clara Tauson against Amanda Anisimova. I find that match interesting, and I was watching that match pretty much the whole thing, and I was entertained. And Amanda won in straight sets, 7-6, tiebreaker 7-4, 6-4. Okay, I watched it like a day later. Saturday, Coco Gauff took care of business. Excuse me. Oh, another match that I watched was an All-American women's match. Madison Keys, the Australian Open champion from this year, against Sophia Kenin. Sophia Kenin also won the Australian Open back in 2020. This came down to 3 sets. Madison Keys won. She lost the first set 4-6. Then she won the second and third sets 6-3, 7-5. A great win for her. Jessica Pegula, she won in 3 sets against the Wimbledon champion from, I think it was 2023, Vondrousova from the Czech Republic. Oh my gosh. The Indian Wells champion earlier this year, the 17-year-old Mira Andreeva. I didn't know she was still in this tournament. She took care of business, 6-3, 6-1. The now Australian player, Daria Kazatkina, she beat Spanish player Paula Badosa by a score of 6-1, 7-5. All right. Then Sunday was the beginning of the round of 16. Yeah, I did see about this. Arina Sabalenka beat Amanda Anisimova 7-5, 6-3. I didn't get to watch any Sunday's matches because I had other things going on. Oh man, another huge match. Elena Rybakina against Iga Swiatek. This went 3 sets. Swiatek won. Iga won in 3 sets. She lost the first set 1-6. Yeah. She got crushed in the first set. Then she won sets 2 and 3, 6-3, 5-7, or 7-5. Man. Alina Svitolina beat Jasmine Paolini. That's a huge win for her because Paolini, the Italian player, she's ranked number 4. She lost the first set. So Svitolina lost the first set 4-6. Then she won second set 7-6, tiebreaker 8-6, and then she easily won the final set 6-1. Okay, so there were some more fourth round of 16 coverage or matches. They're all interesting matches. I think the most interesting one to me is the Mira Andreeva against Daria Kazatkina matchup. We have some more. We have quite a bit of American players on the women's side still alive in the French Open, so that's great for Team USA. And then a huge quarterfinal matchup between Alina Svitolina and Iga Swiatek for tomorrow on Tuesday. Then of course you got the doubles, men's, women's, and mixed doubles. I don't really follow those. So that is your French Open scoreboard. And I did listen to Holding Court with Patrick McEnroe on SiriusXM. Great show as always. All right. To the MLB. Friday. Early Friday evening. Every Friday early evening from like 5 to 7 p.m. Me and my father, we would play billiards. We have a pool table in a big room. I'm sure for those of you that follow Eric Super Magnificent, you have seen that before. We would do that every Friday while listening to music. Okay? And I would put stuff on the TV screens. And one of them, I tuned into MLB Strike Zone, okay? So, MLB Strike Zone is like NFL Red Zone. It's really good. They would do it every Tuesday and Friday nights from 6 to 9 p.m. Mainly the East Coast and the Central Time games, all right? And I was watching some of Strike Zone just because there wasn't really anything else interesting on in sports. And for some reason, quite a bit of the teams, mainly the home teams, they would be wearing those ugly uniforms. Like, I am tired and sick of... It's not just the MLB. I think it's all the other sports leagues. They do this crap. Wearing ugly uniforms instead of their real uniforms. And the weird thing is the visiting team, they were wearing their real road uniforms. I can't stand looking at it. You know, like the Phillies, they were wearing like, what the heck was that? They were wearing like a totally different uniform on Friday night. They look nothing like the Phillies. The Phillies, they're supposed to wear the pinstripe uniform like the New York Yankees. You know? That's what they usually wear. But the Houston Astros, I saw that the game was on. Thankfully, they didn't wear their ugly uniforms. They wore their orange uniforms. But when I first saw it, I'm like, wait, is that red or orange? Because I know they do wear orange, but is that somehow red? Thankfully, it isn't. Well, actually, they used to wear red in the old days when they were in the National League. They used to wear red. But this was before they went to the American League, and then they brought back the orange and navy blue colors. All right. So, let's see here. And I know that we had the World Series rematch from last year between the LA Dodgers, New York Yankees. I didn't watch any of those games because I didn't want to. I don't like that every team is playing all the teams. At this point, if I watch a game, it would have to be a division game because division games matter. They're really important, right? Isn't that how that works? But I did saw that the score from especially Saturday's game, the LA Dodgers crushed the New York Yankees 18-2. I saw that the game was on, and it was like 8-0 in the second inning. I was like, jeez. Let's see here. Let's check the standings. Did the Colorado Rockies win 10 games yet? I don't think they did. Because last week, I should say, they had to face the Chicago Cubs and the New York Mets, both on the road. So I assume they lost all of their games. Man, how about the Detroit Tigers? I hear that they are the hot team in the American League. The Detroit Tigers are a great team right now. I remember a couple years ago, they were a really bad team. I think it was back in 2018, 2019. They lost like 40. They only won 47 games. And they lost like 115 games. Chicago White Sox. Wow, let me tell you, the American League Central is pretty tough. Especially for the battle of second place. Cleveland, Minnesota, and Kansas City, they're all close in second place. A couple years ago, or it might have been last year or the year before, that division was pretty weak. That was the weak division. Now this is a great division. Except for the Chicago White Sox, they're out of it. They're 18-41, 20.5 games behind the Detroit Tigers. But hey, White Sox fans, on the bright side, you are not the worst team. Let's see here. National League. Okay, wait. American League West. The Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros are neck and neck. In the National League East, New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies are neck and neck. Those teams are going to make the playoffs. The National League Central is pretty close. Chicago Cubs are in first place. And of course, the National League West, the top three teams in that division, LA Dodgers, San Diego Padres, and San Francisco Giants. Who knows if all three of those teams will make the playoffs. The Colorado Rockies. Well, I'm not surprised. They're 9 wins still, and how many losses? 50. 50 losses. 50. The Chicago White Sox, they didn't have that record last year. They won more games at the first 2 months of the regular season. They won more than 9 games. 9-50. Gosh. 27 games behind. And the White Sox, they won 9 more games than the Rockies. Oh, this team, I hate to say this. Well, actually, I don't hate to say this. It's like part of me wants this to happen. They're going to break the record. They're going to break the record for the most losses in modern baseball history. It happened last year with the Chicago White Sox. They broke the record from the 1962 New York Mets. And now, 2025, Colorado Rockies are going to break the record. Wow. We're going to witness history back-to-back years. Goodness gracious. Can they win 15 games by the end of this month? Let's see. Who do the Rockies face in this month? They got to go to Miami. And then they finally go back home. But they got to play. They got to face the New York Mets again? That's stupid. They just face them. That's not even a division game. And then they stay to face the San Francisco Giants. Then they have to go to Atlanta. And then at the Washington Nationals. Then they return to Colorado against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then they go to the Milwaukee Brewers. Gosh. Will they win 15 games by the end of this month? That's a good question. I don't know. Let's see if there's any other big news I want to share before I wrap this up. ESPN. Notifications. Nope. I got no news here. In the NFL, we're still waiting to see if Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do I want him to? Yes, I do. I want to see him play. Yeah, he is the oldest active quarterback. What if he doesn't? What if no team gets him? Damn, that's kind of unfortunate. And I heard that Terry Bradshaw, yeah, the legendary Steelers quarterback, was like criticizing Aaron Rodgers. Ugh. To be honest, I don't really want to hear that in my favorite sports talk podcasts. I really don't want to hear about NFL news right now. It's the off season. I usually don't want to hear any, or not much. I don't want to hear much news on sports leagues whenever they're in their off season. So after the NBA Finals, I don't want to hear NBA news. Okay? I know for sure I'm not going to hear any NHL news after the Stanley Cup Final because a lot of the sports podcasts, they don't talk about the NHL during the regular season. But they will talk about some of it during the playoffs. Yeah. But yeah, this week, Stanley Cup Final begins. NBA Finals begins as well. All right. The CFL begins this weekend. First game's on Thursday night. Let's see, what else? French Open, of course, tennis. French Open, second week. Quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals. That's a lot, man. The UFL, Conference Championship games. So, yeah. See, there's a lot. We're heading into the summer season. There's a lot going on. So, I'll be back on Friday, and I'll let you guys know. I'll tell you guys what sports did I watch this week, and then I'll talk about this weekend's sports. So I believe that is it. So yeah, that is it, folks. Man, big episode because there was a lot to talk about. And I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy this huge week in sports. Thank you for listening to Keith Sports News.